Ready? Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 107 of the Game Changers. I am your host, Carla, and tonight I'm turning up the heat with the brilliant Adam Rivers. Adam
I don't know
doesn't
about
just
brilliant. I don't know about that. Come on.
Adam doesn't just know the game. He reads the plays before they happen, and we are about to pull back the curtain on the game behind the game. Big love to the TSA team for fueling this mission of amplifying voices and sparking ideas. This show exists because of visionaries like them and listeners like you. If you want fantasy football gold, perspective shifting stories, or a fresh way to see the world, you are in the right place. The Game Changers isn't just a podcast, it's a movement. Let's get into it. So, who is Adam Rivers? Tonight on the Game Changers, I am bringing someone that I saw live DJing. So, my guest tonight is Adam Rivers, a die-hard New England sports fan who was repping the Patriots even when they were bad.
That is
Born
true.
and raised in Western Mass in Springfield area, Adam's fandom runs deep. So deep, he was in Atlanta for the Super Bowl when the Pats took down the Rams. Professionally, Adam is one of the most recognizable voices in the region. He is the midday personality on KC 101 and the afternoon personality on KISS 95.7, bringing energy, humor, and that signature make some noise spirit to listeners every weekday. Behind the mic, he's a powerhouse in the industry. Director of Programming and Brand Strategies for CHR, shaping sound strategy and culture across multiple markets for iHeartMedia. And when he's not running stations or hyping crowds, he's a proud father with one child at home and another on the way. He's a DJ, a storyteller, a sports loyalist, and a radio mind who knows how to move a room and build a brand. Please help me welcome on the Game Changers, Adam Rivers. How are you tonight, Adam?
I don't think I'm gonna have to take that intro and just like have it forever because I don't think I've ever been able to talk about myself like that. So that was great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Everybody that comes to the show, they love the intro
Yeah,
because
that was great.
I take a good minute to
To put
tailor
it
it
all
to
together.
you.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why I asked for the bio. That's why I was bothering you to have the bio in. I'm happy. I'm so happy that you are in the House of the Game Changers today, Adam. So let's talk a little bit. What was the exact moment you knew radio was your lane?
I don't know. I mean, like I was a little kid in Western Mass, and when I was 6 years old, I ended up doing this thing on TV on the ABC station News 40, where my mom took me to the TV station, and I beat out a bunch of older kids to like host a little weekend kids news segment on TV. And I actually have the videotapes. My mom had them and had them converted for me a couple years ago, which is sick. So I can even watch them now, which really is incredible. But I kind of thought I was gonna go into meteorology. I always like the weather, snow. Like I always like snow. Like that's always kind of been my thing out there. So obviously I'm happy with what's happened lately. But ultimately I wasn't very good at math, and you have to be really good at math to be on TV for that. So I just kind of ended up being I was always a leader, always somebody that, had a personality. So I just ended up on the radio. And I mean, I still can't believe that, I made this into a career, but, I know that you saw me hosting an event and you saw how, how much
Yes.
I love that. And that really is my zone, like hosting an event and being in the zone like that. It's my favorite part, of all of it, of everything that I do is just, making people happy and making people have a good time. That's what I love doing.
I love that. Tell me, what's the hardest part of being on every single day?
It's tough. Like you can't, it's tough. Like there's an expectation from the audience that, no matter what, you're going to be, happy and upbeat and fun. And listen, I'm very rarely in a bad mood, so I'm lucky, from that standpoint. But at the same time, like you can't ever really have a bad day like to the audience. Like it's when whether I'm DJing an event, whether I'm DJing a wedding, there was a wedding that I did in October where like 9 things went wrong before the wedding, but nobody ever knew about it because I was able to just take care of it with all the backup stuff that I had. And but I'm sitting there like sweating the entire time. So, there's a lot of things that I do my best to make sure that no matter what, people are always hearing something fun and upbeat and happy, because that really is what I think people expect, and I want to meet their expectation.
I love that. I don't know if you can see the comments. There's a couple people telling, "Oh, nobody's here," and I'm like, I came in and stuff like that. So thank you guys for coming. We are streaming from a lot of different places. We're streaming from Instagram, from X, from LinkedIn, from Facebook, and from YouTube. With
Wow.
having tonight Adam Rivers in the house. So you might not see a lot of people here if you're scrolling in, but there's a lot of people everywhere. So thank you a lot for coming to the Game Changers. So, you know, telling that sometimes you need to be on like every single day. How can you keep your energy consistent across multiple shows, especially that right now you are doing a lot, like we talk like off air.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, there are days, obviously, having a 2-year-old, there are days that we're up at 5 o'clock in the morning, which again is the best thing in the world. But it's one of those things where when you have to, do what I do, I can tell you right now, I drink a lot of Dunkin'. I always have, and I probably always will. I really have kind of cut back more into like the green tea, type of stuff to cut down a little bit on the, on the amount of, caffeine, but I run out a lot of caffeine and just a lot of energy. There are so many things that I go and do, outside of our region too. Like, I'll travel and host some shows in, Rochester, New York, or Delaware, or New Jersey, or Pennsylvania, or
Crazy.
whatever. And, I mean, I do those on the same day that I'm working. So it's a lot, but, I think as I've grown, grown up a little bit, becoming a father, becoming a husband, all that stuff, I think I have definitely figured out how to prioritize. And, I think it's all about prioritizing to just make sure that, number one, I get everything done, but number two, I deliver on the expectations.
That I love that. I didn't know you travel as well, like New York and Mass and everywhere.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. Tell me, what's a moment on air that you will never forget, good or bad?
Hmm. I mean, there are a lot. I have only hit like the dump button, like to dump out audio one time in my entire career. And it was because at the time I had a co-host in at KC 101 in the afternoon. And she was also like the promotions girl, but really she was just on the air with me primarily. She did promotions and she said the F word like literally
On
while
air?
we were live. And I hit the button and it was all good. But I don't know that my heart has ever dropped more than that. And she like didn't even realize she did it. And this is probably a year and a half, 2 years into when we're on the air together. So she's been on the air for a long time at that point, and it just came out of her mouth. She didn't realize it. I hit the button. It didn't come out on the air. Nobody got fired. So it was all good. But that I will remember that forever for sure.
Listen, with fantasy football, everybody comes on air and they hit that button
Oh
sometimes.
yeah,
So
for
you're good.
sure.
You're good. So I want to talk a little bit about fantasy football. What got you into fantasy football, Adam, and how?
I mean, the league that I'm in right now, like my primary league, has been mostly the same people since 2002. Like you can go into Yahoo and it has been the same group since 2002. And at that time, we were 13. So obviously it's been a while, and there have been a couple people that like were in it at the very beginning that may not be anymore. And we added a couple new people in here and there, expanded it to 14 teams, whatever. But it was really just we played every fantasy sport. Like I was a athlete growing up in high school. I mean, an okay high school athlete. Like I wasn't anything, special. I still have it for
You're
being in my
special.
my late 30s. I can still run pretty good, run pretty quick, but um, I think we were just always big sports fans. Like my group of friends and I, and we played, football, basketball, baseball. We played everything together year round. So I think we just kind of took that into, the beginning of fantasy sports like that, and we still hold on to it now. And I think it's been a great bond. I got a group chat on my phone with me and 14 other people, and I've known all of them since I was in elementary school. So it is pretty cool, because I know that once you get past like 30, that's kind of rare. But I'm lucky to still have that with my group of friends that I grew up with.
That's amazing. So what started it all? How did you all started that group?
I don't know. I mean, I think we were all teammates. I know that. And I don't know what prompted somebody to be like, "Hey, let's do fantasy football." I don't remember, to be perfectly honest with you. But, it is something where now, like this year I was in 6 leagues, and it's like, man, I'm in the playoffs in one league and I'm rooting for one player, but I'm playing that player in a different league. In that league is more money. It's like, what do you care about more? It's like, how did I end up in all these leagues? But they're all different parts of my life. People from different parts of my life that got me into a league at some point. So, the OG one definitely is awesome, from back in the day for sure. But, I love every part of it. I love we do there are 2 leagues that I'm in that do an in-person, real draft, and, have fun. We go golf and, have a good time. So, I love that part of it too. And especially as we're older and don't get to hang out every day, it's cool.
I love that, Adam. So let me ask you that. Do you do live drafts or just online with your friends, with your buddies?
So the 2 big ones that I'm in are both live drafts, like in person. We'll golf in the morning and then we'll go do the draft at somebody's house. The other
Nice.
4 that I'm in are ones. One of them was a live draft when I lived in Virginia. It's a group of people. I lived in Virginia for 1 year after college, before I got the job at KC 101, and that particular group of friends that I had in Virginia, they're very spread out all over the country now. So we used to do that one in person, but I still do that one online. And then the other 2 are just like online, random
Cool.
ones, again, from other parts of my life. But the ones that I really care about are the in-person ones for sure.
So, did you ever go to the expo in Ohio?
No, no, I didn't even know there was one, to be honest with you.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the expo and let me get you hooked for the expo this year. Maybe you can go and like meet up with a lot of like pro football Hall of Famers there. So it's the biggest in-person gathering of fantasy football fans, honestly. Analysts, creators, industry pros. It's a live draft. They do parties, meet and greets, tournaments, and networking events. It's
Wow.
like Comic Con, but for
But
fantasy
for fantasy
football.
football, yeah, because I would never be a Comic Con. That ain't my personality. So,
So it's yeah, it's for fantasy football. It's they like I've been there for 4 years. This is my 5th year. I just love it because you get connected with a lot of people from SiriusXM, from ESPN, from all over. They connect, they collab, and they have fun as a community. And you get to know to talk fantasy football with everybody, and everybody is like you. So if you are interested, I can get you informations about that because it's really like you have to go at least
that,
one
that
time.
that that would be sick. I mean, with a second kid on the way, I don't know how I'm gonna pull that off. But that way, send me the info.
Yeah, it's like 3 days. And I'll definitely send you the info. How about Scott Bowl? Did you ever try Scott Bowl?
I don't even know what that is. No, what is that?
Oh my God! Come on, Adam. So you
I don't.
play, but you don't really play. So Scott Fishbowl is trying to bring the life draft to Connecticut. Scott Fishbowl is one of the biggest and most meaningful, honestly, fantasy football tournaments in the world. So Scott Fish, it runs because of his name. That's why he brings it together. He brings thousands of fans, analysts, celebrities, and creators to play in one massive league, all all for charity, all for
Wow.
it, all of it. So there's a creative scoring, they have fun divisions, teams, a huge sense of community, and they raise money for, if you want to search it later, Fantasy Cares. They support kids, families, and holiday toy drives. I love helping out. I go to Boston every single year to help out, and I honestly ask Scott to bring it to Connecticut, and I'm trying to bring it next year, hopefully, to Connecticut.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, Ducky is saying congratulations for
Thank you.
the new baby on the way, and I'm so happy for you. You
Thank
need to start playing for these two big, like the Expo and Scottish Bowl, and you will love everybody, Adam. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I love it. I mean, it's weird. I feel like I'm hardcore, and now I'm talking to you. I'm like, man, I'm really casual. I didn't even realize it. Damn.
No, I mean it's like you are a big celebrity for KC, like FM, and everybody knows your voice, but now they get to see your face, and I'm so happy to have you tonight on
Yeah.
the show. Honestly, so tell me, Patriots,
Die Hard.
are you happy that they made it
Yeah, I
this
mean, like
year?
like if because I remember when you asked me to do this at like I think what was it, one of the walks or something. I forget what it was. If
It was
you
the
told me
cancer
that,
walk.
yeah, the Cancer Walk. If you told me that the Patriots would then be in the Super Bowl, I would have been thrilled, and I'd be like, man, I don't even care if they lose the Super Bowl. I just want them to be there. But now that they're in the Super Bowl, I'm like, we got to win. You know what I mean?
No.
Gotta win, and it really has been an amazing season. Obviously what Coach Vrabel has done has been incredible in, the development of Drake May, with Josh McDaniels, really showing why he really is the best offensive mind or one of them in the game has been incredible, all year long. And it really has been so much fun, to
Eh,
watch the team. I was lucky enough, I took my son and my wife to the Jets game at MetLife when they played a couple days after Christmas, and then I went with my friends from home to both playoff games at Gillette. And it really it just feels so good to be back. I mean, I know that we're spoiled fans. I get that, and there was a tweet the other night that I ended up retweeting from just some random Patriot fan. It was like, I used to take this for granted, but now like I want to cry because of how awesome it is. And I don't cry easily. Like the last time I really cried probably was when my son was born. And it almost
aw,
happened the other night after they
yes.
won and went to the Super Bowl. It was right there. It didn't happen, but it was right there because I think for so many years, obviously I was in my teens, in high school, in college, etc. When the dynasty first began with Brady and Belichick, and to have that again and be able to share that with my own family, the my wife doesn't know anything about football, doesn't care about sports whatsoever, and she loves Drake May, and she loves Drake May's wife because she loves who they are as people. You know what I mean? And it's just a special team, and obviously, I'm very happy with the result of the season, regardless. But hopefully, they can pull it off, here next weekend, and it'll be awesome if they do, for sure.
I hope so. I really hope so. I cannot wait to see the game, honestly. I am a diehard Chiefs, but I was rooting for the Pats because when you live in New England and the Pats makes it, you have to root for the
It's
Pats
fun,
to score.
that. It's fun, at least.
Yes, and Ducky, yes, I watch every single game as much as I can, and I did watch the Bears as well. So, thank you for staying here and for all your messages, you guys. Let's keep on with the Patriots. Which player has burned you the most in fantasy?
On the Patriots or like in general?
If you want to talk in general, if you have someone in the Patriots you want to talk about, it's up to you. But if you want to talk in
No,
general,
the only Patriots player I had this year, like in any league, was Hunter Henry. He was really the only one that I drafted,
yeah.
in any league this year. This year in my big, like the league I care the most about, the one I was telling you about that goes back to '02. I had the first pick, which I hate. I never like having the first pick. It's the worst. Every single time that I've had the first pick, I've never got, picked the right person. And obviously I picked Jamar this year. I was going to go with Bijan, but I picked Jamar in, between Flacco being the quarterback for half the time, Browning being the quarterback there for a couple games. Obviously Jamar didn't have the year that he expected to have. That being said, I did still make it to the Final Four in that league,
Good.
which was good. I mean, it's a 14-person league, so there's nobody on waivers ever, worth picking up. But I had drafted Rico Dowdle, who obviously, had quite a few games there where he went off. Stevenson, I had really good running backs in that league, and that league is very difficult with running backs because of the fact that you have 14 teams in the league and nobody ever on waivers.
Yeah,
But Jamar definitely burned me this year because the rest of my team was good enough for sure to, if I had not, if I had drafted somebody at that slot that would have produced the points that, should have come from having the number one pick.
that's so cool. What's your go-to draft strategy in the first two rounds?
I mean, it's tough. I love going. I have always been probably an above average fantasy football player just because I've always looked for value more than I've looked at position. I've always looked for, who's falling that is being undervalued. Like this year in that same league, Jamar Chase, the 14 team league, my second pick was Brock Bowers. Obviously, it didn't work out. He was hurt for a lot of the year. But at that point, even though he was a tight end and I hated going wide receiver tight end, he was by far the best player that was available at that point. You know what I mean? So having
Yeah,
him available at that point, I took him, and again, that pick didn't really work out, but at the end of the day, I always look for value, and if I'm going to draft three running backs in a row, that's fine. If they're the best players on the board, I'll figure it out later. I have been more biased in like, the regular 12 team leagues that I kind of play in to go running back heavy at the very beginning, still with value in mind. But, obviously, I think if you were to look at the average points that you can get above your average running back, there really are so many fewer running backs that give you an elite level of scoring compared to wide receivers, compared to even tight ends. So I've been a little bit running back heavy, especially as the NFL has evolved, and you have fewer running backs that are scoring the fantasy points that they were 10, 15, 20 years ago.
cool. How early is too early to draft a QB?
So I went in the third round in one league with Jaden Daniels this year, which obviously
Really?
horrible decision. But I always used to be the guy that would wait until the end, and I would always get like a Matthew Stafford, or I would get somebody, that was good enough, like Jared Goff. I've won a couple leagues with Jared Goff, but obviously they had the great offense in Detroit there for a couple years with Ben Johnson. But I always kind of had that. But now I think when you look at the actual scoring and you look at the actual output, if you draft the right guy in the second round at QB and he has a great year, you're going to like that pick. And I think when you look at how everything, has evolved with the 17 game schedule, and you look at like how at the back half of the year, so many people are beat up, taking a game off here or there, the injuries that happened this year with so many prominent players, that
Crazy.
it was crazy. So I think I never think anymore that it really is a bad. I always had that like don't take a QB forever strategy. And I've really gotten away from that because I think when you look at the actual scoring in week to week, of it, it's harder and harder to find the players that are consistently going to deliver. There are teams. I remember reading this, and it's never happened in a league that I've been in or to me, but there was some tweet that I saw about a team that had gone undefeated in the regular season, won the first two playoff games, and then in the final, three of the players had a bad game and they lost. And it was like, this guy had the best team in the league, most points scored all year, and loses in the championship game because a few players had the bad game, had a bad game in that game. So it's like, there's so much,
This
there's luck
has
involved too. And I think, just looking for the high floor is important.
this has been a year in the fantasy football. Like it has been a year.
Oh, it's
The
crazy.
good teams, the great teams, they were not winning. Everything was all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know what was happening. I literally don't know what was happening. But I do have a question from one of our audience, which is Wendy. She's my sister from another mister. And she is in the audience today asking you, Adam, do you think Jaden will bounce back next year? What's your thoughts on that?
I don't know. I mean, I think when you look, and you don't want to make the comparison to RG3. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to, because he plays for Washington and he was a quarterback that runs out of the pocket a lot. You don't want to make that comparison, but it's almost like you kind of have to, because if he isn't able to come back and play at the level he did his rookie year, that is going to be very significant for that franchise. They put a lot of money, obviously, this year into getting Debo, extending McLaurin when he held out. They put a lot into the organizational, offense around him. And they're kind of in a difficult situation if he does not return to form. The good part about it is that I think he is a better athlete, than a lot of people do seem to give him credit for. When you watch the actual tape, he's an unreal athlete. Fantasy scoring aside, some of the plays that he made last year were bonkers. You know what I mean? Like his rookie year, some of the plays he made were just so incredible. So hopefully he will come back. I can see him coming back, but you never know how people are going to get after injury, especially, with the history of quarterbacks that spend so much time outside of the pocket in the NFL. You see how many guys get hurt and they don't come back the same in one way or another. So hopefully that doesn't happen, because he is really, really talented and so fun to watch. But unfortunately we've kind of seen that happen so many times, all the way back to Vic. I mean, it's the same thing with him. He was getting hurt all the time, so I think that's something that, hopefully they can coach a little bit better moving forward in Washington, and, they can kind of reset next year and get back on the train.
So I do have a question for you as well. And Ducky is asking, who's your favorite player on the Bears? Do you have a favorite player for the
I
Bears?
love, I mean, on the Bears, I love Colston Loveland. I mean, he's going to be sick. Obviously he didn't really get going until later on in the year this year with Komet, that they, obviously it's been there for a few years, but him and Caleb definitely have a connection, and he's unbelievably athletic. That was a great pick that they made. And, obviously a great fit for the Ben Johnson offense, who had the great, whether it be Laporta, or Hawkinson before that in Detroit, having great tight ends, be a part of that offense. I think Loveland's going to be a special player for a long time.
I love that. I love that. What's one rule you wish leagues would get rid of?
I hate the trade deadline. You know what I mean? I feel like if the league if the league isn't complaining about a trade being unfair, why can't it happen until the playoffs? You know what I mean? That's the one
Yes.
where I don't like the trade deadline in fantasy football. And I get it. Like, there's a trade deadline in the real NFL, but to me, it just kind of feels like, what do we need to do this? Like, we're playing fantasy football. If it ends up being a fair trade, and passed by the league and not vetoed, that's the one where I'm just like, I don't know that we need to still have that. And that kind of feels like a legacy thing that has just gotten held over and held over and held over to me.
I agree. Tell me, what's your favorite win that you still brag about today?
So that Virginia league I was telling you about, that was a league where they had unbelievably, and they still do have unbelievably different rules and scoring and everything than every other fantasy football league that I played in. And it is a lot more fun, to be perfectly honest with you, because, like, we've had people lose a championship in that league on a kneel down. with the negative yardage, or win a game because they give up a half point for a rush, like a rush attempt, you get a half point, which again is absurd. So that
Yes.
that year, the first year I lost that, I was really bad in that league. I think I only won 2 games because I was drafting how I always was, and I didn't understand. And I'm 22 at that time anyway, so we were just having a good time, at the draft. But I now am the person who has won that league the most. I've won it 4 times. So
Ooh,
that I think is probably because that was the one where I was like, man, I really don't know what I'm doing. I'm playing in a league with people that actually know what they're doing, thinking my friends from home don't know what they're doing. I'm like, I'm playing in this league and now I have no idea what I'm doing, and I've now won that league 4 times. So that
I
that
love
that was a good
that.
one for sure. Yeah, that's a good
That's
one.
dope. I like it.
Yeah,
Do you draft with your heart as a Patriot fan,
never,
or do
never.
you
I
stay
actually,
disciplined?
I mean, here's the thing with Belichick, being the coach for so long, and even, this year with the lack of weapons other really than Diggs and Henry on offense, I've never really drafted Patriots. Like, Brady was never really, until the last couple of years, he was never really a top fantasy quarterback. Other than Moss, nobody was ever really a top fantasy wide receiver. Gronk obviously was a top fantasy tight end, but growing up in New England, everybody was taking Gronk way ahead of where he should have been taken. So I don't even think I ever had him in one league, during his career. This year I took Stevenson, over a couple other running backs that were similar in value, just because I liked the running style and I thought he was going to have a good year, and he did. And obviously, a huge playoff so far as well.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I've never really, I don't draft, like, I'll never draft Mahomes. No offense, I can't root for him, so I'll never.
Come on.
I can't. I'll never draft him. Same thing with Kelsey. I've never had him. When like Mark Sanchez was the quarterback of the Jets, I would never draft him. But by and large, I'm always just looking for the player that is going to help me win.
Of course.
Win a championship. That's what I'm looking for more than anything.
100%. So, yeah, I want you to know I never played. I do have fantasy football. The, and I talk about it, but I never played. So I will never like take Mahomes either for me. Tell me, what's the funniest league punishment you've ever seen or
well,
get to do?
so I'm in a bunch of lame leagues that
No
are not
punishment?
that there's no like real punishment for any league that I'm in, for coming in last or anything. The big league that I'm talking about that goes back to '02, that league, like, the whoever comes in last has to be like the butler and give everybody beers at the draft. That's really like the only punishment, and that's not really a punishment. And I, we've
You
just
get
never
to
gotten into
be
it.
you get to be with our like our leagues. You're gonna have so much fun, Adam.
Yeah, I
You're
mean,
gonna have so much
I would
fun.
much rather do stuff like that, but it's weird. I'm just in all these leagues that don't do something like that. No punishment for last place in any of the ones that I play in.
We had a lot of punishments. We've seen a lot of punishment, and I might share one or two like videos with you at some point. There's so much fun. There's so much fun. You have to see that. So you were like your roots are from Western Mass. What's the best thing about growing up in the Springfield area for you?
That's a tough question. I It's weird because, listen, I will rep the 413 area code till the day that I die. I'll never change my phone number. Like, people are always like, "What's 413?" And I'm like, "What?
Yeah,
It's not even that far away. How do you not know that what it is?" But I don't know. I mean, I love the blue collar work ethic that I had from growing up in Western Mass.
love it.
I think it's weird because being in between Connecticut, which is, a much different environment, in Boston, which is a much different environment. Obviously there are a lot of things you don't know what you don't know. And I think, a lot of my friends who I love, they've never really left. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
it's a little bit different because I have the perspective of having, basically spent my entire adult life in Connecticut at this point. My dad worked in Connecticut his entire career. Other than that year that I was in Virginia, I've worked in Connecticut my entire career. Um, and I love Western Mass, but I mean, it's tough to really name any like redeeming quality. We don't have good pizza like New Haven. There's no big attractions there. Uh, I loved my childhood. I would never trade my childhood. I would never want to grow up anywhere else.
I
But
love
like,
it.
I don't know what to tell you to be honest with you.
I teach in New Haven, but I live in Farmington, so I'm far away
Yeah,
from
yeah,
what I
yeah.
teach is crazy. I want to try the pizza that they talk about in New Haven,
It's
but
the best. They do.
I'm trying to take care of myself with the pizza and all. What's something only people in from Western Mass understand, though?
All right, so you have no idea. You've never heard what a ding dong cart is, right? You've never heard
No,
that term. So that's the ice cream truck in when
really.
yeah, they call it the ding dong cart because of like
Oh,
the bell or whatever. And I tell people that, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Go look it up on Urban Dictionary." And the other thing is that I pronounce milk, milk, like
yeah.
as if it has an E. And again, until I lived in Connecticut, that was something that everybody around me pronounced it milk. So like I didn't know any different. I have no idea why that is. We don't have an accent, like people from other parts of the country always tell me they're like, "Oh, you sound like you're from New York." I'm like, I don't feel like I sound like I'm from New York at all, but I guess in comparison to the Midwest, but we don't have an accent in Western Mass like they do in Boston. So what
Yeah.
I think maybe that's our accent is that we say milk a little bit weird, but that really is the only couple things I can think of.
I love it. I love it. What's the song that defines your childhood, Adam?
Yeah, that's
You
a
put a
tough
lot of
question.
songs.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I really liked, which no one would ever guess now, because I wear Vineyard Vines to work every day. But I was really into like punk rock when I was a kid.
Yeah,
And I feel like anything like Blink 182 or like Incubus or Linkin Park, Linkin Park Hybrid Theory is probably my favorite album of all time. I don't think anything will ever be able to get there from an album standpoint. And it's like, man, I've never related to any of these songs. Like they're dark, and I've never been in that place, fortunately. But I'm like, man, I love these songs. So I think, like anything from that era, like punk rock, that's really what I gravitate toward for sure.
I love it so much. So let's go back a little bit with the radio and everything that you do. What's the biggest lesson radio has taught you about people?
I think ultimately, people just want to feel like they're a part of something. I think that really bigger than anything is kind of what, people communicating on the radio or communicating on a podcast or whatever it is. People want to feel like they're a part of something. And I think that's what I always try to do is just make people feel like they're a part of something, that is fun and happy and upbeat and is something that after having a long day, if I can put a smile on your face by making fun of myself, that's what I want to do. And I think that really is how, as the media landscape continues to evolve, it's an awesome thing, for the medium that I work in, because you have the ability to make that real time connection or, complain about the cold weather or the snow or the fact that this morning there were so many accidents all over Connecticut on the way to work. It was
Yeah,
crazy how many there were this morning.
I
It took me
agree.
over an hour to get to Hartford this morning, so I think that's something where having that ability to connect in real time, and just be relatable. That's what I try and do.
3 cars, right? In Hartford today in the morning?
There were a
Those
ton all
84?
over the place. I don't know what it was. There were some in New Haven, Wallingford, all over the place. It was
That's
crazy.
crazy. Can you tell me a little bit about the background? I love your background. What can you tell me about it?
Like in from a career standpoint.
Yeah,
Oh,
I don't know what
from
you
the
have
back.
in
Oh, the background.
the
Yeah. So
background.
these are all plaques that record labels have given me. So I pick the music for both radio stations. So in that role, like you see the Harry Styles and the Dua Lipa and Megan Trainor and Cardi B and stuff like that.
Wow.
It's kind of calmed down a little bit after COVID, but every few months, one of these would show up at my office where they would just give you a plaque, for being a part of the reason why their songs became, big hits. So like their record labels and management would buy these plaques for people that do my job around the country and send them out. So that's really where that came from. And, obviously, my wife put together, this is my office at home, and my wife put together this room because I had taken all these, back from work because there were so many on my wall. She put them all up on the wall, and obviously it's cool because I do a lot of, consultations with people that I'm like, maybe going to DJ their wedding or whatever, and everyone always loves that. So
I love
I got a
it.
ton of them in here. They're all over the place, but
Wow.
it's pretty cool for sure.
That's so cool, Adam. So my next question for you, how do you decide what makes it on air and what doesn't?
There's so much that goes into it. It's crazy. I mean, there's so much data, that goes into it, and reactions and viral moments and things like that. But a lot of it, at least how I kind of program here, is what that sounds good. Like a really good example of that is the new Bruno Mars song, which has really good data.
Uh,
Like Billboard Hot
yes.
100, streaming data, people buying the tickets, the shows selling out. They had to add more shows at Gillette, add more shows at MetLife. But just hearing the record, I'm like, man, that sounds good. Like I'm going to be in the car and I'm going to want to hear something like that. So a lot of it, is data, but at the same time, it's always looking, and just trying to use your gut. And I think that's something that me being a DJ, not on the radio, has really helped me with that part of my career, because I'm like, man, I can see how people react and see how people, really engage with something.
So whenever I drive to a New Haven in the morning and coming back, KC 95.7, it's my like my friend in the car.
Yeah, and
I
that's what we
listen
want.
to you guys the whole time and I love it. I love it. I love it. And this is something that I really enjoy. You guys do a great job and I do listen. I was coming back today and they were like Adam Rivers. I'm like, he's coming to the show. I'm so
Yeah,
happy, honestly.
it's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah. What's the trend you think it's underrated in radio?
I think just like content creation, I think we gotta get better. And myself included, we gotta get better at, reaching people in all the places that they are. Every media, every
Yeah.
traditional media, and even, some new media. There's so much that goes into, trying to reach people where they are. And I think that's something that we just have to do a better job at. And I think it's difficult because people can get so much on demand anywhere that they want, anything that they want, any content that they want. And you have to give people a reason to listen, a reason to engage. And that's why I really try to do the best that I can, to be active on social media,
Yeah.
and try and connect with people that way. I love in-person events. I really love, making personal connections, and hosting things. I think that really is a very underrated part that a lot of people have, kind of forgotten about. But, we just try to give away a lot of stuff and, have a lot of fun. That's what we try to do.
I love that. Like I said, when I saw you at the event in Hartford for the cancer survivors, that was really amazing. You did hype the crowd. You can
Yeah,
hype a
that's what
crowd.
I try to
It's
do. I just
awesome.
always try to be the hype guy.
Yeah, you can hype a crowd. What's the biggest shift you've ever seen in radio since you started?
I mean, streaming obviously has really hurt radio and TV, a lot.
Yes.
Like, there was a time, like, think about it. American Idol is a really good example too. Like that was event television. Because you didn't have Netflix, you didn't have Apple TV, you didn't have YouTube, to the level that you do now. It's kind of the same thing with radio. I mean, there there have been so many shifts in just how people use the medium, and it's just about us trying to evolve and adapt, within the culture that we have to try and get, get people to still engage. And I think that we've done, a better job than a lot, at doing that. But I think, it's going to be interesting going forward, to see how it continues to evolve. And listen, there's nothing more that I want to do, than do this for my entire career. I'm going to be 38 in April. And this is my 22nd year doing it. I started at 16. I'd love to, be able to work in this industry for the rest of my career. But I think we're going to have to evolve and figure out how to do things a little bit differently to do that. I think local TV, is in the same boat. Certainly, I can't even tell you a show on a major network now. I couldn't tell you one, like what is a
Yeah,
weeknight show? I honestly wouldn't know. So I think it's just about trying to figure out how to really make people loyal, to your brand, whether it be a podcast, whether it be radio, TV, a blog, whatever it is, making people be loyal to your brand and consume your content and reach them where they are is going to be very important.
it is. It is really important. Let's talk a little bit about your DJing background and what's your go-to hype line beside make a noise? Do you have another one?
Hands up and make some noise. That's what I got.
I love it though. These are really cool, like, hype lines because make some noise and hands up. So,
Yeah, those are the two I got. That's what I got.
what's the wildest thing you've seen while DJing?
I've seen a lot of things. I have seen a lot of things that we cannot talk about. So I'm trying to think of things that we can talk about. I have seen. So this actually happened at a wedding last year that I DJ'd. The maid of honor for the wedding rewrote "Love Story" by Taylor Swift about the bride and groom and sang it for her speech, and
Wow.
it was really, really good and really, really bad all at the same time. Like because she wasn't good at singing. You know what I mean? Like she
Her voice.
wasn't good at, like her voice wasn't good, but like what she wrote was A plus plus. Like it was in the way that she weaved it in with the lyrics of the original song was incredible. But like the vocal part, she just couldn't deliver on that part.
Ah,
But it was so awesome. I mean, like I had everybody get up and give her a standing ovation after it. It was so awesome, but I
yeah.
had no idea it was coming. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like you see some stuff
Yes.
when you've DJ'd, I mean, I don't really do, bars or clubs or anything like that anymore. Those days have been over for me for a while. Because I figured out you can make much more money doing weddings and have to deal with
Agree.
a lot fewer drunk people. So I kind of gravitated toward weddings. But at the same time, I think when you look at the things that I've seen, like there's been a lot of crazy things. I've seen, couples break up. I've seen all sorts
Oh,
of crazy stuff for sure.
yeah. Well, JC's wedding is in October. Do you travel
Where where
outside the
where are you,
state?
JC? Where is he?
Oh my God, I don't remember. Where do you live, JC? If you're listening, I know you're listening to us. Tell me in the chat, where do you live? So I can't wait. So his wedding is soon in October. I just got the invitation. It's something that we were all Minneapolis.
Oh,
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis. Damn, that's far. That's
Yes,
far.
it is. But I love it. Adam, what's the toughest crowd you've ever had to win over as a DJ?
There are just some weddings where the families are not fun families. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And
yeah,
honestly,
yeah.
I can tell you that, that it's more common than people think. There are people that just don't want to have a good time. But there's one wedding that sticks out in my head, and this is a long time ago. This is probably 15 years ago. And the
Wow.
craziest part is that they're still married today. But I'll never forget the groom's family. The groom was from North Carolina and the bride was from here. And the groom's family was like, you can still undo it, like telling him that as she was about to walk down the aisle, or like you can still not do it or whatever. The vibe was just so off.
Wow, they were
Uh,
telling the groom?
Yeah, because the groom's family was all from North Carolina. They didn't want him marrying this girl from Connecticut, blah blah blah. Like you could tell the vibe was just off on both sides. That was a tough one. They ended up having a good time, but it took a lot of alcohol to get there. It was really late before they started having a good time because the vibe was just off. Like,
Yes.
and you can play all the songs, like all the bangers, and there are some crowds that are tougher than others, but that was one where that one just sticks out in my head because the vibe was so unbelievably off at that wedding. I'm like, man, and at that time, I mean, I'm probably like 23, so I'm like, what the hell did I just walk into?
Well, I'm glad they're still married. You're saying that you still
Yeah,
know,
because
you know that
they're
they're
my
still
friends on
married.
Facebook. They're my friends on Facebook.
Wow. I
Because at
love
that
it.
time it was a little bit different on Facebook. Everybody
I
added
agree.
everybody. So like, every like all the couples that I DJ'd weddings for from back then, a lot of them are divorced, some of them are still together. But
Yes.
but they are still together. They have like 3 kids, and I see their pictures all the time. I'm like, man,
Wow.
I walked away that night being like, they're probably not going to be married in 3 months, and all these years later, they're still together. So it's
I
awesome.
love that. Sometimes the noise outside is just a noise. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
absolutely.
What matters is the ones they are in. I
Yeah.
love it. I love this story. What's your favorite song to drop when you need to shift the energy?
It's weird. I mean, it depends on like what time of the night. Earlier on in the night, like I always save Earth, Wind and Fire September if I have a down moment, where people go and get a drink or whatever, like that's a good one to bring everybody back. Um but honestly, that doesn't really happen earlier in the night. It's more later in the night that you need to kind of bring everybody back because so many people have left. Um, I don't know. Like "We Found Love" by Rihanna, that probably has always kind of been my go-to since that came out. And like "TikTok" by Kesha, though, those are great songs that here, I know in other parts of the country they probably wouldn't pop off the way they do, but here, those are two songs that seem to always bring everybody back regardless of age. So I kind of always save those until I really need them. And I'm fortunate enough to there are a lot of times where I never need them, quote unquote. I just end up playing them within the flow of everything. But those are the ones that I kind of save if I can tell a crowd isn't you know always into it from the beginning.
That's so cool. So we were talking about family, Adam, and you said that you have a child already and you're having a child coming soon. How has fatherhood changed your perspective on your career? And what's the best part of being a dad?
Best part of being a dad is like a long day like today. Perfect example. Coming home and like, walking in the door and my son's just yelling, "Daddy, daddy, daddy," and running up and giving me a hug. Like there's nothing better than that. There really isn't. There's no better feeling than that. I really have prioritized making sure that I'm home to at least put him to bed. If I don't have an event, if I'm not, doing something, I always try to do everything I can, to be home, to put him to bed. And obviously I spend time with him in the morning and on the weekends and whenever I can. But I always try to figure out, before having a son, I definitely would stay at work sometimes later to get stuff done. And have an easier day the next day. And I don't really do that, anymore. It's very few and far between because I always want to be home to put him to bed for sure.
I love this. I love it so much. And do you have a boy or a girl?
I have
And
I have
what,
one boy already, and we have another boy coming. So it's
another boy,
another boy
another.
coming. Yeah. So it'll be fun.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it. When she's due, when your wife is due.
The end of May, so Memorial Day weekend area. So that'll be cool. That'll be
A
cool.
May baby. What's the biggest surprise about fatherhood that you never expected?
My kid has the same attitude that I did when I was a little kid sometimes, for sure. That like you
You're
always think,
doing great.
yeah, you always think. I mean, I definitely had an attitude when I was a little kid. I was a little crazy, especially relative to my peers, especially when I was younger. And my son is just. There are times where he is just like I was, for sure.
Yes. Well, I love that. So let's go with like fun. random personality questions at this point. What's your go-to comfort food?
Chick-fil-A all day. Chick-fil-A.
Really?
Yeah, love Chick-fil-A.
Wow.
Yeah, love Chick-fil-A.
What's your most irrational fear?
A plane crash.
Oh,
Dying in a plane crash. I've always felt
yeah,
that for whatever reason. I don't know why. I've felt that since I was a little kid. But and I'm gonna knock on wood on my desk right now. But
yeah.
yeah, I have always had that fear. And again, I don't know why. It's weird because once I'm on a plane, I'm the coolest. But like when I'm not on a plane, I think about it irrationally.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy, especially with everything that happened lately too. It
yeah, it is
has been
crazy.
crazy. Yeah. What's your most controversial food take?
Pineapple doesn't belong on pizza. Like, I can't believe that people would put pineapple on pizza. It's
No,
unbelievable. You don't ruin pizza by putting fruit on it ever.
I put pineapple everywhere.
No, you don't do that. Pizza is meant for, you can put whatever toppings you want on that are greens or meat or whatever. Don't put fruit on pizza. They don't go. They don't
I
taste
put
right together.
I love pineapple. I put it on everything. I'm sorry, Adam.
Well, no, it's cool. It's cool. I just like that's the thing where I'm like, I don't understand how these things go
Yeah,
together.
you should try it though.
I have
What's a
tried it.
movie?
I just it
Yes,
doesn't work with
you
my
didn't like
taste
it?
buds. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't work. What's a movie you can quote start to finish?
None. I've seen probably like 10 movies in my entire life.
Ooh,
I've never been a movie person my entire childhood. I was outside, and ever since my childhood ended, I've worked. So I've never been a movie person, really, ever.
yeah, we get so busy like along the day. It's crazy. If you live on Duncan, I live on Duncan too, so
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get
for
it. I
sure.
get it. What's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
I mean, when we're done with the episode, I'm gonna go shut my eyes and turn on the fan in our bedroom and just fall asleep. Like
Yeah.
I just love to hear the noise of the fan and fall asleep. That's what I love to do more than anything.
What's your most used emoji?
The like curved laughing one, like
Yeah.
yeah, like the one that makes it seem like I'm laughing much harder than I actually am. That's the one I use all the time.
What's a talent you have that people don't expect?
I don't know. That's a good one. I- I'm very like I'm just I guess the only way I could answer that, one of my bosses put it this way once. Adam is just good at everything. Like it doesn't matter what it is. He isn't exceptional at one thing. Like there are some people that are exceptional at certain things.
Yes, I
I'm
agree.
not exceptional at anything, but I'm good at everything. And I think
That's
that is what probably is more because I think some like the public perception I feel like is that I'm exceptional at talking and I'm like but I'm really not like in comparison to like people in New York or Boston or like huge markets like I'm good but like I'm not like exceptional like I'm not exceptionally funny like there are some times where I'm funny but like I'm not hilarious but
yeah.
I'm good enough. I think I'm just like solid all around good and I think that's probably why I've been able to build the career that I have just because I know so much. I know too much about too many different things.
Yes, I love that. What's your favorite? I think we're alike. We're so much alike in this. What's your favorite holiday?
That's a good one too. I don't know. I mean, I love Christmas. Obviously being a father makes you love Christmas probably more,
Yes.
but I've always
Yes.
loved the holidays. I don't really care for Halloween. I don't know why. I've never really been into Halloween. It's weird, but yeah, I mean, I love 4th of July. I love like, the summer holidays and fireworks and, having fun, but I think Christmas definitely more than anything.
Yeah, I love Christmas too. What's your go-to coffee order? especially
It's
that you drink a lot.
iced, two sugar, two cream. That's it.
Mine is black
Yeah,
coffee
hey,
for me,
listen,
any day,
you're
every
better off than I am for sure.
day. What's your dream vacation spot?
I've been to 47 states out of 50, but I have barely left the country. I've been to Canada a couple times. I've been to St. Martin for a week.
Yeah.
I've never been to Europe or anything like that. I really want to go to Australia. I don't know why. I've ever since I was a little kid, I've always wanted to go to Australia. I've always I have no like desire to go to Europe. I don't know. Maybe I will in retirement, but like I want to go to Australia. So it's
Europe is beautiful.
yeah. I know Europe's beautiful, and listen, I want to go. I'm Polish. I want to go to Poland.
Yeah.
I want to go to Italy. I want to go to those places. But like the burning urge has always been Australia.
I would never thought you're Polish. I have
Yeah,
a
no one ever
lot of
does.
Polish friends
Everybody
in
thinks I'm
Ukraine.
Italian. Nobody thinks I'm Polish. Nobody.
Wow, I would never thought of it, Adam.
Yeah.
What's something that you wish people would stop asking you?
I don't know. I feel like I get asked a lot, like, so do you do up a voice for the radio? No, I talk the same. Like, people are always like so shocked. I feel like when I talk to them in real life and I talk to them how they hear me on the radio. You know,
Yeah,
and they're like, you don't sit in there and like do a radio voice. I'm like, no, I just talk the same way I'm talking to you right now. That probably is the one where I get asked that all the time, and it's just like, no, you clearly are looking at me right now, and you see that I'm talking to you like you hear me on the radio. It's not there's no show. I'm me. You know.
I love that. Yeah, I've seen you like even live DJing and stuff like that, and it's the same. Like
Yeah.
we're talking like right now, and that's what draw me to have you on the show because I want people like you to be there. Like just be you, be yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I
It's
might have a cool job, quote unquote, but we all have jobs. I just happen to have one that's a little bit different. It doesn't make me
I
any
love
better
that.
than anybody else.
What's one thing you want listeners to take away from this episode tonight?
Um, just have fun, just have fun, be you. I'm authentic probably to a fault. I always tell it like it is. It's worked out pretty good so far, but I think don't ever be afraid to, draft somebody risky. That would be my number one
Yes.
thing. Never be afraid to draft somebody too early. Just be afraid to not get who you want because you waited too long. That would be my number one thing.
I love that. Adam, we already hit the hour, but I do still have a question that I ask every single guest that comes to the Game Changers. And that question is if there's something that I don't know happened at an early age or um maybe as an adult, a secret that you never shared ever with anybody and you never spoken of that you've done, maybe like I said, an
Yeah.
early age, and you want to share it on the show tonight.
I don't think I have one. I mean, I can't even think of anything to be perfectly honest with you. I can't think of anything. Um,
I've had people said a lot of stuff on this show. I kid you not. From
like
having
I'm sitting here trying to think of something. I don't even know. Like,
So let me tell you, Greg Kellogg, he's telling you, come on, man, spill the beans. Greg is a Hall of Famer. You have to go to Ohio and meet up with Greg. He's a down to earth person, a Hall of Famer in the fantasy football industry, and you have to meet up with him. So you
I
have
need
you
the
have
info
to
on
come.
the conference. I honestly don't know. Like, I don't I don't think I have one. I don't think I have a secret. I don't think there's anything that.
Nothing in high school you never spoke of, like anywhere. You never you didn't do anything
I
in
mean,
high
I egged
school
a
that you
couple
want to talk
houses.
about?
I definitely egged a couple houses in high school. We we I mean, I guess if you really want one, there was one time, now that you're saying high school,
Yeah.
me and a couple friends went and set a bunch of stuff on fire at a boat ramp, like in the
Oh,
middle of winter.
You're
like
kidding
we
me.
knew it wasn't going to be bad, but we set a bunch of stuff on fire. And I didn't have my license yet. I was like 14 or 15. I didn't have my license yet, but my best friend growing up's older brother had his license and he was the one driving us. And somebody saw the fire from the highway and must have reported it. And he ran away like in a Saturn, like a tiny little 1998 Saturn. There were like six of us piled in there, and we ended up losing the cops that came to like
Oh
figure out
my
what
God.
was going on. So, uh,
You were lucky.
yeah, I think I'm sure I've told that to I've told that to my wife. I know that. I don't know. I'm sure I've retold that at some fantasy football draft or something. That story, but I don't think I've ever publicly shared that. So we were, I mean, whatever.
I'm
Stats and
good with
waivers
that.
is
I'm good with
ongoing.
taking that
Yeah, no,
secret.
nobody got hurt. It was all good. Nothing bad happened.
I love that so much, Adam. I cannot thank you for being on the show. But before I wrap, everything, can you tell everybody the best way to connect with you online, where they can follow your work, and tell them more about KC 101 and 95.7 as well.
Yeah, you can find us on the iHeart app, so you can listen to KC 101 or Kiss 95.7 on the iHeart Radio app, or on the computer, or you can tell your Alexa, play KC 101, play Kiss 95.7, and we'll pop up. And social media, Instagram is really my number one. So it's Adam Rivers, ADAMRIVERS on there. If you really want to see me just talk about football, Twitter is where I only talk about football. I don't think you could probably look at all my tweets. Probably my last 50 are all about football. So I do on
Followed you. Follow me back.
Oh yeah, I'm not good at that. I'm not the best at that. I feel like I followed you back on something. I think it probably was Instagram. But Twitter is where I talk more about football. Instagram really is more curated toward my audience, at work. I got to get better on the TikTok game, but it's at Adam Rivers on everything.
I saw your video when the Patriots won that
Yeah,
you were
yeah.
jumping. I think your wife was taking your video,
Well, no,
maybe
it's the
from
ring
back.
camera. It was the ring camera in the house.
You yes,
Yeah,
yes, that's what I saw. Your ring camera. That was so cool. I love it. I
yeah.
love that. I'm really happy that the Pats won and they're going. We're gonna all watch on the 9th, February 9th, and hopefully New England this year is gonna be their year as well. So let's see what's gonna happen.
I hope so.
Um, Thank you so much for joining me on the Game Changers tonight, Adam. Thank you to our audience as well. If today's conversation gave you a fresh perspective on fantasy football or the game of life, do me a favor, drop a comment with your biggest takeaway. I read them all. Mark your calendars and join me for next Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time with Chris Lepage for more game-changing conversations. Big thank you to JC for the behind the scene magic and the powerhouse team at TSA for making this platform possible. If you enjoyed the episode, subscribe, hit the bell, leave a review, and follow us on social media. Until next time, keep challenging the game and making your mark. This is Carla and Adam signing off. Have a great evening, everybody. Adam, if you want to stay, we can talk after.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.